When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You've heard that. There's truth there. But what if you have an inner teacher that's been waiting a long time for you to listen deeply, to build your well, so that your inner teacher and your inner student can meet? I met my inner teacher at a very young age. I just started school, only a couple of weeks in. I had swelling above this eye. I had a scar from ear to ear that was quite visible, and I was terrified out of my mind. Already I was very shy because an egg-size monster-making tumor had grown when I was 4 and had been surgically removed, hence the scars. But my childhood conditioning was one of, if you are visible, people stare, they gasp, they point, they're shocked, and you could feel the judgment, the horror, the confusion at this little girl with this disfigured face. And now I was at school, and now it was, what's wrong with your eye? Why do you have a boy's haircut? And I just wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. Classes were wonderful because we were learning how to read and write, which I was so drawn to and so excited about. But break times were terrifying. They were a nightmare. I would wander around aimlessly, pretending to be going somewhere or fascinated by some little tree, just to avoid the other children who were sitting huddled in little groups, the boys playing marbles on drain lids, the girls playing clapping games, giggling and laughing and singing. But after a few weeks of me endlessly wandering around during break time, they started to notice. They started to stare at the odd girl, the one with the short hair and the funny eye, walking around on her own. I became so sad, or should I say, the sadness that had been built up just erupted to the point that I wasn't sure my legs would hold me. So I took a risk and I ran towards the classrooms in the hallways and passages that we weren't allowed to go to during break, just to be alone. And I put my back against the wall and slid down and just sobbed into my lunchbox. Literally opened my lunchbox, thought I would try and eat, and then the tears came, and there was this rain of tears into my sandwiches. The grief, the fear that I'd been holding in, the aloneness, I hadn't shared with anyone because I didn't want to burden my family with more suffering. I'd already put them through so much. It was overwhelming, the intensity of this pain. The best way I know how to explain what happened next is that there was nothing Hollywood. There was just an ordinary sense of peacefulness that surrounded me, that felt present. A peacefulness with thoughts in my mind that was simply that I wasn't alone. So I opened my eyes, looked up to try and see where this inner voice was coming from, because I certainly felt like there was something new in the space. And I had this image in my mind of a little pink light, like a shape of a 10-pin almost, hovering nearby. And I got a bit nervous. Even though there was this peace, I felt a little bit confused and nervous. Like, what are you? What is this? And the thoughts and the peace were, friend, and were, you get to choose. Like, give me any name. Give me a name. What would you like me to be? There was this cartoon character that I loved on our newly acquired family pride possession television, because TV was new. Yes, I'm showing my age, right? TV was new in the world, and we had got ourselves a little television, and we could barely afford it. It was a very luxurious thing for a family that didn't have a lot of luxuries at all, if any. But there was this TV, this television, and my favorite was the cartoon called Baba Papa, where they would sing Baba Papa, Baba Mama, Baba Bub, Baba Bravo, Baba Bell. And the main character was the dad, who was the largest of all of these little shapes. They were 10-pin shapes, and he was pink, and he could morph. They could all change into any shape. And they were loving and they were kind, and the messages of these little programs was always some kind of message of kindness, some kind of message of creativity. They could change into slides for children to play with them, or if a house was burning, they would change into a fire truck and put out the fire. So this was an obvious choice for me. I said, you can be my Baba Papa. And it was done. My inner voice, Baba Papa, stayed with me for quite a few years. Every now and then there would be this nudge. There'd be this encouraging thought to courageously go make a friend, which I did. To participate in a game, which I did. Over the years that Baba Papa lost his childlike name, disappeared for a while and re-emerged, and I gave that inner voice so many names over the many years of my inner journey, of my meditation work as a teenager and a young adult. For a while I thought, is this an angel? Is this a guide? Is it my own soul? Our inner teacher doesn't mind what we call it. It's all translated through the mind. Anyway, we send the bucket down, we fill it with water, and then we bring it back to the surface. And as we bring wisdom to the surface, it's always translated. It's translated into imagery and into words. And that translation is always fallible. It's never perfect. If we have the mind of a 4-year-old, we'll translate it into 4-year-old language. If we have the mind of a saint, we'll translate it into saint-like language. If we're artists, we'll translate it into the language of art. The words are not as important as what they represent, which is clear seeing and clear being. Build a wisdom well to let your inner student meet your inner teacher.